Welcome to How to Cook That. I'm Ann Reardon and it's gingerbread house time. This year we're making an epic gingerbread house and giving it away, so hang around to the end for that. Melt your butter, and to that you want to add bicarb, some molasses. You don't have to use molasses, but it does add to the colour and the flavour. Sugar, milk, glucose syrup, and I'll write down all these recipe quantities on the How to Cook That website for you, and glucose syrup is one you can swap more of it in if you don't want the molasses. Then add spices. Now I'm using ginger, cinnamon, cloves and a little bit of ground mace to give it that spicy kick. You can use whatever spices you like or none at all. It's your gingerbread house. Once that's all mixed up, tip in your flour, and this might look like a lot of dough, but we actually need even more for this house. I'm going to make 3 batches of this gingerbread dough. I can't make it all in the one bowl because it wouldn't fit. You just need to keep stirring this and use your muscles until it's all mixed in and you can't see any more flour. Make sure you do scoop right to the bottom so it's not just running at the bottom. Now this is quite a soft looking dough because we melted the butter. So to make it firmer, cover it over with plastic wrap and just pop it into the fridge for a couple of hours. While that's chilling, print and cut out the template that I made for you, and details of that are also on the How to Cook That website. What you will notice is some of the pieces say join here, so find all the pieces that are for the same thing and sticky tape them on the join here line so that you have the bigger pieces that wouldn't fit on one sheet of paper. Some things you don't need to cut out, so don't cut all of these circles out, just keep them as a size guide. Roll out your dough. You'll need to use some flour on top of the dough to stop it sticking to your rolling pin, and underneath use baking paper. Cut along the edges of the template. A pizza cutter is good for this because it doesn't drag the dough as you cut. Now in this template I've given you 2 types of lines. The single lines mean to bake it with a border of spare gingerbread. That gives you the real square edges. If it's got a double line, you need to bake it with no border, and that gives you a rounded edge as it bakes. So everything on this one is baked with a border. You don't need heaps of gingerbread, just a thin strip of extra gingerbread along the edge. Cut around all the windows as well and leave that gingerbread in place so we get nice straight sides to the windows. And very important, take the template off before you bake. There's been more than one time when I've left the template on and then it's very hard to get off once it bakes onto your piece. Pop that in the oven and cut out the rest of your pieces. Rolling them out on baking paper means that you can easily slide them onto a baking tray when there's one spare and when there's room in the oven. For the big bits, after 30 minutes, pull them out of the oven and using your pizza cutter, redo these cuts. That gives you that nice, straight, upright edge, and they're the ones that are good for joining together. It also gets rid of any overly browned corners or edges. You've also got to take out the windows, and these are the key to knowing if it's done all the way through to the middle. So leave this bit to cool, and once it's completely cold, feel it, and it should feel firm and crispy, not soft. But you can't tell that until it's cold. It's going to be soft while it's hot. But if it's soft once it's cold, you'll need to put this whole piece back in the oven for another 10 minutes. Sometimes I like to even flip it over upside down just to let all that moisture out of the other side evaporate off. For this bit, leave this whole circle in place while it bakes, because if you don't, the gingerbread seems to move inward even if you've left a border, and then the circle is too small. When you think you're done rolling and cutting, check each template for these magical words here that say cut to. Otherwise you're going to be missing a side to your house. For a house this big, making the dough, cutting it out and baking everything will take you about 8 hours. On day 2, you'll need to make some royal icing, and again the recipe for that is on the website. Find the matching pieces where you've got the upper piece and the lower piece for the wall. take that off for 1 minute. And because I think that gingerbread and chocolate go so well together, well, let's be honest, chocolate and most sweet things are good friends. Drizzle some chocolate onto the lower half. And you want to temper your chocolate, or if you don't know how to do that, then just use compound chocolate so it doesn't need tempering. And we're using this chocolate to join the two bits together. Make sure it's lined up, because once that chocolate sets, you won't be able to move it. Once it is set, you can just flip the chocolate joined walls over. Now, I want the inside of the house to look white, so I'm just going to spread some of that royal icing over the whole inside of the house, like we're plastering the walls. Not that I've ever plastered actual walls before, but you can do it with icing. Repeat that on the inside of all 4 walls, and for the windows, spread some royal icing around the inside to make that look white and sort of plastered too. This icing is not going to be totally flat or perfect unless you happen to be a plasterer, but that doesn't matter, you won't notice it, just smooth it out to be fairly flat. You do want to run your spatula down the sides here though and get rid of any lumps of icing, because otherwise they'll be in the way when we try and put the house together later. While that's drying, put your circles in size order. Now remember how we surrounded all the edges with that extra dough? That gives you all these little bits, which you can snack on, but we do need to use some of them here, so don't eat them all. Pipe some royal icing and put a couple of bits of gingerbread and a bit more icing on top. And then put the next size circle on top and push down. Stack that up and check it from all sides as you go to make sure it's straight, otherwise you're going to end up with a crooked tree, and then stack it all the way to the top and set it aside to dry out. Grab your floor pieces and join them together with royal icing. And if you're wondering why the floor has a giant hole in it, you'll have to keep watching because all will be revealed. If you have any broken bits like I did there, just put it in the middle between the two that aren't broken and it'll be fine. Then once again, scrape off any excess icing from the inside of the circle and from the outside so it doesn't prevent us from putting it all together. Get this fun looking piece of gingerbread and pipe an outline along the top edge, just going up and down. If you're not confident piping, just practice on some baking paper first. Then you can just scrape the icing off and put it back into your bowl and try again and keep trying until you feel confident and you've got the hang of it. Then pipe a line down the middle of each one and then 2 lines either side. Using a skewer, push it into the icing in the middle and then drag it down towards the base. Wipe the skewer clean and then do that again with the next one. For the steps, it's going to be easier if you pipe them now. Add the top step into place and then pipe on some more snow coming down over the front and covering the top of the step. And you want to do this same thing with all the window ledges too. Find these little window bits and outline them both on the outside edge and around the window. Then take some of the icing and mix it with a little bit of water, not too much. You want it to be a bit like a honey consistency. It needs to flow, but then it needs to sort of meld down into itself. Put that into a piping bag and use it to flood fill the window. Think of it just like you're colouring in. Once your tree is pretty set, cover the outside with a rough coat of royal icing. We will pipe over this tomorrow, so don't worry about making it look good. Put the tree onto an upturned bowl. Now this is just to make it easier to pipe. We'll take it off once it's dry. Make a fresh batch of royal icing and using a large star-shaped piping tip, pipe a blob and then just drag it up. Blob and drag it up and continue that all the way around the base. Then do the same thing, the same movement, but this time using a shell piping tip that's a bit smaller than the star one, and continue to alternate the large star tip and the shell tip all the way up the tree. Then just add a star on top. Now you want to carefully turn your walls over so you can see the outside and draw an outline around the outside edge and around all your windows and the door if you're doing the front one. Now pour thinned down royal icing into the wall and spread it out. So we're flood filling just like we did on that little window. Once it's spread everywhere, give the wall a jiggle and keep shaking it until the icing looks smooth and flat. If you don't like royal icing, you could of course use white chocolate for this instead. While the walls are still wet, add the little windows to the front and back walls. Now you're going to have to wait for an hour at least for those walls to be touch dry, and then you can pipe the details over the top. Now you can do whatever pattern you want. You might have something in mind that you like, but keep in mind it usually looks better if it's symmetrical. So what you do on one side, repeat that on the other side. On the side walls, add the windowsill into place, and down the bottom you'll need to add the awning as well. It's just easier to do this while it's flat. Using the shell piping tip again, pipe a blob and then drag it down, and do that the whole way along the ledge where the bottom story starts. Then use some tweezers to add a little edible ball on the bottom point of each one. Now, if you're like most people, you'll get more confident with your piping as you go. So for that reason, I'd suggest that you do the front piece last. Start with the back that no one's going to really see. While you do all of this piping, you can check out today's sponsor, Audible. Alexa customers can listen to A Christmas Carol narrated by Hugh Grant on Alexa for free the entire month of December. Just say, Alexa, read A Christmas Carol.
Audible Studios presents A Christmas Carol, written by Charles Dickens, performed by Hugh Grant.
Alexa, pause. Or you can ask Alexa what's free from Audible. There's a selection of free titles in December for US customers. Listening to Audible on Alexa is the perfect hands-free companion for when you're baking this holiday season. And Alexa is now even available on the Audible app, which gives you a hands-free navigation option, which is great when you have messy fingers like I do. Alexa, play.
Old Marley was as dead as a doornail.
Alexa, pause. Interested in learning more about Alexa comments? Visit audible.com/ep/audible-on-alexa-features. Now add the decorative strip at the front and pipe down just below it like you did on the other sides. Now we need all of that to be completely dry before we assemble so that we don't ruin anything we've just piped, and it's best to wait overnight for that. Assembly time. Start with this piece, and the opening needs to face towards the back. You want it central from side to side on the board, but you want to leave more room at the front than at the back because we need room here for the steps. Now to fill the hole with this, a spinner. You want to make sure that you have the controls and the cord at the back. That is why we have this big gap here. So we'll just pop that in there. I have this gingerbread circle to go over the spinner, but it's a bit too tight of a fit, so I'll either have to shave some off the edges of the circle or around the top of the hole using a sharp knife until the circle fits. Put a little bit of icing on top of the spinner and put some of those scraps of gingerbread on top. A little bit more icing onto the top of each of those, and then the big circle on top, and importantly check that it spins. Then put some icing in the center of the spinner and add the Christmas tree on top. Lovely. And add your little gingerbread men as well. Time to put up the walls. At the front there is a doorway, so don't put icing there, but put plenty all the way around the base and on the sides everywhere else around this square. Put the back wall into place, making sure the cord is going through the gap. I'm using a tripod to balance the wall so it doesn't fall over. And add icing up along the corner join and add the side walls into place. Now I've designed this house so that the side walls sit inside the front and back ones. Add the icing up the front joins and add the front piece into place. Now because this house has double gingerbread on the bottom half, it's actually quite stable already because they kind of slot together really well. Using some icing, glue your steps into place. On the sides of the house, you will be able to see the gingerbread join, so we need to cover that. Down the bottom will be covered by a tree, so you only need to cover the top part. I'm using the shell tip again and just piping upwards. I'm going to need 2 rows. If you have a bigger piping tip, you could get away with 1. For the bottom part, put a messy squiggle of icing along the join and some at the bottom here, and then add one of the Pac-Man shaped bits. Put more frosting and another Pac-Man. Having a little wedge cut out of each of these circles means the tree can hug the corner of the house quite snugly. Using the shell tip again, cover the window awning, piping rows from the bottom all the way to the top. Then use a knife to neaten the top and pipe a little row of dots along that top edge. Now for a very cool trick. Put a ribbon across the house. This is temporary. It's just going to help us hold the roof in place while it sets. Pipe frosting everywhere along those joins except for where the ribbon is. And add one side of the roof. And of course add some more icing across where the 2 pieces are going to join in the center there. And then add the other side of your roof. And now the ribbon is going to come into play. Tie this ribbon around the top in a knot and it will stop the roof from sliding down. It will stay perfectly in place while it sets. And 2 hours later, once the icing is set, you can just cut the ribbon and pull it out. How good is that? You can use that trick when you're assembling normal sized gingerbread houses too. Pipe the icing up the front side of the roof just to cover that edge there and make it look good. This is a really weird angle for me to pipe on. Oftentimes I find when I'm filming I am piping at not ideal angles because the camera is in my way. Then pipe rows of icing over the whole roof. There is a lot of royal icing on this house and you can of course flavour it how you like. So I've just added vanilla, but you could add mint or any other flavouring that you want. Pipe the trees that are out the front and cover the board in icing and then you're done. So as I mentioned at the start, we're not keeping this year's gingerbread house, we're giving it away. So let me introduce you to Scott Hawkins from Winter Shelter.
G'day Anne, how are you?
Good,
hi everyone.
Thank you. He's got his Father Christmas beard going on.
Oh.
So Scott, this time of year lots of people are generous and give to charities and all that sort of thing, and that's great, do that, but you're involved on the street doing stuff all year round. Can you tell us what you do?
So we provide homelessness services, we provide a community pantry, we provide, during COVID, we provided takeaway meals, but now, thank goodness, we're able to have everyone gather together a few times a week to be able to have meals together.
So how many meals would you do over a year?
In the course of a year, it's a little over 30,000 meals.
That's a lot of food.
It's a lot of food. Literally tons and tons of food.
In your experience, what are the main causes of homelessness?
The 2 major causes that we find are domestic violence and a lack of affordable housing. One lady who came to us, she said, I don't need help. I've got my 2 kids with me. I don't need money or food at the moment. What I'd really like is some advice. We've had to leave where we are. We're going to sleep in our car, but can you tell me, is it safer for us to sleep at the lake or is it safer for us to sleep at the train station? The truth is neither of those are good options. And so being able to work with families like that is a real pleasure.
When you're homeless, I sort of felt like people just wanted me to roll over and die, to be honest with you. And so that was sort of where I was at before the winter shelter. They feed you so good, like you get 3-course meals, you get a bed and all the love and care and respect in the world. So that's you can't buy that to me in life. My journey, it's just priceless, really.
Every year, as well as the stuff you're doing throughout the week, you also do something special at Christmas. Can you tell us about that?
People can feel especially lonely or especially isolated at Christmas time, and so we like to do a few things. One, we put on a hamper night where where we have 100 or so families that will come along and get a basket full of goodies that they're able to take away and have a much better Christmas experience than what they might have otherwise had. But we also, on Christmas Day, put on a Christmas meal for 100 or so people, and it is a full 3-course meal that we put out for people with lollies and coffee at the start and a full roast meal and then dessert afterwards. And we have a blast. The kids have fun, we have fun, and it's just, it is a crazy and wonderful Christmas lunch experience that we have together.
Well, we have something for you that will hopefully help make it
So
fun too.
looking forward to this.
We would like to contribute to the lunch, which I'll give you guys an opportunity at the end as to how you can do that. But also, we have a gingerbread house that probably won't feed 300 people, but it's probably enough for 100, so you can split it out between them.
Amazing.
So if you close your eyes,
I
I'll
will
get
do.
it for you.
Yep.
Open your eyes.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing.
So the bottom layer has a double layer of gingerbread so that it'll feed more people. And then you've got the spinning Christmas tree, which is all edible. And the only thing that's not edible is the mechanical spinner.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. That's going to look great. No doubt it'll taste great as well. And it'll be, once again, like what you do here. We would never present anything at any of our meals that we wouldn't love ourselves. And so to be able to do this, actually, it's demonstrating value to people when they come along on Christmas, and that's what's going to be just wonderful for this. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
No worries. And obviously there are lots of people watching from all around the world, so they can't come to your Christmas lunch. But
That's right.
I can guarantee there'll be some people watching who are either facing homelessness or having a really hard time this Christmas. What would you say to them?
Know that there are people who care. There are services that are available. Reach out to somebody over this Christmas time, and don't try and battle through on your own. There are people who care, and one of the places that we've found to be particularly helpful are local churches that are open on Christmas Day and are full of people who care about others and can care about you too. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And for anyone who wants to donate or contribute to the Christmas lunch and the services you're running throughout the year, where do they go?
wintershelter.org.au, and right on the front page there is the opportunity to be able to donate time or money or whatever it is that you've got. That would be wonderful.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you to my patrons for supporting my channel and making this sort of thing possible. You guys are wonderful. Merry Christmas to everyone. Make it a great week by being kind to others, and I'll see you on Friday.
Thank you.